now is the time for Crowley to go. This only Kamla could save Trimbago. Look, now is the time for Crowley to go. This only Kamla could save Trimbago. Time to go, time to go, time to go, it's time to go. Look, now is the time for Crowley to go. It's only Kamla could fix Trimbago. Time to go, time to go, time to go, it's time to go. Look, now is the time for Crowley to go. It's only Kamla could save Trimbago. Is billions gone from we treasury? A tax-paying man can get nothing for free. Is billions gone from we treasury? A tax-paying man can get nothing for free. Trinidad and Tobago, please open your eye, 'cause the truth in your face, Crowley could only lie. Time to go, time to go, time to go, it's time to go.
Yes, the need, of course, a pleasant good night to all and sundry. This is, yes, the Corridor Transformation, the Thursday night edition. And, of course, we continue to have, of course, what I consider to be bumper after bumper programs that will, of course, not only edify, not only educate, not only excite the people, of course, to go out and vote, but to make certain that you make the right choice based on the information. Because an uninformed person could be considered to be an empty vessel, but an informed person could be considered to be, well, a beautiful bouquet of flower that, of course, is in bloom. Excuse me. So from that perspective, of course, we will continue, of course, to treat with the issues so that we get an appreciation as to where we are as a country and what is the issues that we must address and how do we salvage and or save Trinidad and Tobago. That being as it may, we'll have a wonderful time, but listen, of course, to what is required at this time. In music, of course.
Is billions gone from we treasury? A tax-paying man can get nothing for free. Is billions gone from we treasury? A tax-paying man can get nothing for free. Trinidad and Tobago, please open your eye, 'cause the truth in your face, Crowley could only lie. Time to go, time to go, time to go, it's time to go. Look, now is the time for Crowley to go. This only Kamla could save Trimbago. Look, Crowley give us promises to the sky, but I support in UNC till the day that I die. Look, Crowley give us
Madam
promises
Speaker,
to the sky, but I support in
Mrs.
UNC till the
Rodriguez
day
was
that
appointed
I die. This
head
only
of the national COVID response in Venezuela on the 27th of February. A few days later, she asked for a courtesy call on the Prime Minister of Trinidad and Tobago. That visit took place on the 26th of March And Madam Speaker, we have said, both myself and other officers in the Cabinet have declared that we had said that there was no prearranged agenda. It was a courtesy call in the context of our response to the COVID emergency.
Mr. Rodriguez came, there was no question or no asking of, well, what are you coming to discuss with us?
A few moments later.
So to have the member for Point appear and the former Minister of Energy and the leader of the opposition ask, well, why are you signing so many agreements? Because the US put sanctions. And don't forget, that is what stopped it. Otherwise, the Dragon gas would have been in Trinidad since 2020. The US put sanctions and stopped the project. And let us not forget, those on the other side wrote to the US government asking for the member for Diego Martin West, the Prime Minister, and for myself to be sanctioned by the United States. That is part of our history, because they were supporting President Guaido and asking why I let the Vice President of Venezuela, Delcy Rodriguez, into the country. Thank God I did, because today we have a future.
And Madam Speaker, Mrs. Rodriguez was appointed head of the national COVID response in Venezuela on the 27th of February. A few days later, she asked for a courtesy call on the Prime Minister of Trinidad and Tobago. That visit took place on the 26th of March. And Madam Speaker, we have said, both myself and other officers of the Cabinet, I'm clear that we had said that there was no prearranged agenda. It was a courtesy call in the context of our response to the COVID emergency.
Mr. Rodriguez came, there was no question or no asking of, well, what are you coming to discuss with us?
A few moments later.
So to have the member for Point appear and the former Minister of Energy and the leader of the opposition ask, well, why are you signing so many agreements? Because the US put sanctions. And don't forget, that is what stopped it. Otherwise, the Dragon gas would have been in Trinidad since 2020. The US put sanctions and stopped the project. And let us not forget, those on the other side wrote to the US government asking for the member for Diego Martin West, the Prime Minister, and for myself to be sanctioned by the United States. That is part of our history, because they were supporting President Guaido and asking why I let the Vice President of Venezuela, Delcy Rodriguez, into the country. Thank God I did, because today we have a future.
And Madam Speaker,
When the United States put sanctions, the only people who can give permission for you to operate without you attracting sanctions, and the truth is, there are two categories of sanctions. There's the first level and the second level, secondary. We are at the second level. There's a huge risk and no one will do business whilst that is taking place. We'll recall the Prime Minister in one of his transparent press conferences not too long ago, saying that it is as though you are pushing a boulder up a hill. Fortunately, a few days later, a few weeks later, the end of September, we got the license we got the agreement from Venezuela. And I'll give a quick history here. I made 8 trips to the United States last year, several of them with the Prime Minister. It was pursuing this business. So when I sit in the Department of Agriculture, which was part of our strategy, recognizing that we're a huge producer of ammonia that is needed in the world post the Russia-Ukraine crisis and war, that is the strategy we're implementing on behalf of the people of Trinidad and Tobago. Saying Trinidad and Tobago has something the rest of the world doesn't have. And I said it on international TV as well. At the time, people didn't understand. Trinidad and Tobago has immediate capacity to produce LNG, ammonia, urea, UAN, which are all fertilizer based on unnecessary, and methanol. And we're next to proven reserves, 17 kilometers of pipeline away in Venezuela. And that is what picked up traction. So when Europe and other countries need LNG and ammonia, we have an immediate solution, not today.
Madam Speaker, the Mrs. Rodriguez was appointed head of the national COVID response in Venezuela on the 27th of February. A few days later, she asked for a courtesy call on the Prime Minister of Trinidad and Tobago. That visit took place on the 26th of March. And, Madam Speaker, we have said, both myself and other officers of the Cabinet, have clear that we had said.
Professor, good night. Welcome.
You hear me loud and clear?
Loud and clear, my friend. Loud and clear.
Right, but here what's going on. The video we have in the background there, it's overriding everything we're saying. So you rather check the audio and the video that you play. Okay. In the background.
All right, thanks. Yeah.
All right.
Yes, indeed. Thank you very much. All right. So let's go. Let's see. Let me see if I can make some corrections here. All right. So. Oh, I see what is happening here. All right. Yes. Let me just make certain. That is supposed to be, of course, one with Rowley confessing what is a mafia. Yeah, I have it here. Let me see. I have it here. Let me make sure. Okay, so that has stopped. That is not playing. I wonder why. All right, let's continue. Of course, let's continue, man. Right, let's go with this.
Madam Speaker, Mrs. Rodriguez was appointed head of the national COVID response in Venezuela on the 27th of February. A few days later, she asked for a courtesy call on the Prime Minister of Trinidad and Tobago. That visit took place on the 26th of March. And, Madam Speaker, we have said, both myself and other officers of the Cabinet, and I'm clear that we had said that there was no prearranged agenda. It was a courtesy call in the context of our response to the COVID emergency.
Ms. Rodriguez came, there was no question or no asking of, well, what are you coming to discuss with us?
A few moments later.
So to have the member for Point appear and the former Minister of Energy and the leader of the opposition ask, well, why are you signing so many agreements? Because the US put sanctions. And don't forget, that is what stopped it. Otherwise, the Dragon gas would have been in Trinidad since 2020. The US put sanctions and stopped the project. And let us not forget, those on the other side wrote to the US government asking for the member for Diego Martin West, the Prime Minister, and for myself to be sanctioned by the United States. That is part of our history, because they were supporting President Guaido and asking why I let the Vice President of Venezuela, Delcy Rodriguez, into the country. Thank God I did, because today we have a future.
When the United States put sanctions, the only people who can give permission for you to operate without you attracting sanctions, and the truth is, there are two categories of sanctions. There's the first level and the second level, secondary. We are at the second level. There's a huge risk and no one will do business whilst that is taking place. We'll recall the Prime Minister in one of his transparent press conferences not too long ago, saying that it is as though you are pushing a boulder up a hill. Fortunately, a few days later, a few weeks later, the end of September, we got the license we got the agreement from Venezuela. And I'll give a quick history here. I made 8 trips to the United States last year, several of them with the Prime Minister. It was pursuing this business. So when I sit in the Department of Agriculture, which was part of our strategy, recognizing that we're a huge producer of ammonia that is needed in the world post the Russia-Ukraine crisis and war, that is the strategy we're implementing on behalf of the people of Trinidad and Tobago. Saying Trinidad and Tobago has something the rest of the world doesn't have. And I said it on international TV as well. At the time, people didn't understand. Trinidad and Tobago has immediate capacity to produce LNG, ammonia, urea, UAN, which are all fertilizers based on unnecessary, and methanol, And we're next to proven reserves, 17 kilometers of pipeline away in Venezuela. And that is what picked up traction. So when Europe and other countries need LNG and ammonia, we have an immediate solution, not today for today, not today for today, not today for today, but we will fill a big global void in the need for LNG, ammonia, urea, UAN. If we get access to proven reserves of gas, that is 17 kilometers of pipeline, that can be done in a very short time frame in the scheme of things. That can be done in a very short time frame in the scheme of things. That can be done in a very short time frame in the scheme of things. Not today for today, not today for today. So you will recall when I went on CNN International with Richard Quest, that was the message. At the time it was not understood, but it was part of the strategy, and it was understood where it needed to be, because we ended up with an OFAC license that no one else has. Venezuela. You will recall in 2016 we negotiated that first memorandum of understanding. Very quickly in 2018 we had a commercial term sheet. We had agreed with Venezuela the price of gas, the allocation of gas, and that gas was set to come to Trinidad and Tobago by 2020. That gas was set to come to Trinidad and Tobago by 2020. That gas was set to come to Trinidad and Tobago by 2020. The next thing that happened, sanctions came under a certain US administration that shut that down. I could not pursue the deal because the operators, Shell, would go nowhere near it because of fear of sanctions. We did not give up. We very quietly came up with a strategy that we implemented as soon as possible, a change of administration in the United States, all of the time maintaining our relationship with Venezuela. When we were in the middle of COVID, and our borders were closed. When we were in the middle of COVID and our borders were closed. When we were in the middle of COVID and our borders were closed. And the Vice President of Venezuela, who remains the Vice President today, Delcy Rodriguez, wrote to us diplomatically and said, I would like to come to Trinidad and Tobago. Wrote to us diplomatically and said, I would like to come to Trinidad and Tobago. I would like to come to Trinidad and Tobago. And I, as the Minister of National Security, on the advice of the Prime Minister, allowed the Vice President of Venezuela to come to Trinidad and Tobago. The opposition led the charge on behalf of President Guaido, who they don't know where he is today, to say that the Prime Minister, they wrote to the United States government that Prime Minister Keith Rowley and Stuart Young should be sanctioned. When we were in the middle of COVID, and our borders were closed. And the Vice President of Venezuela, who remains the Vice President today, Delcy Rodriguez, wrote to us diplomatically and said, I would like to come to Trinidad and Tobago. And I, as the Minister of National Security, on the advice of the Prime Minister, allowed the Vice President of Venezuela to come to Trinidad and Tobago. When we were in the middle of COVID, and our borders were closed. And the Vice President of Venezuela, who remains the Vice President today, Delcy Rodriguez, wrote to us diplomatically and said, I would like to come to Trinidad and Tobago. And I, as the Minister of National Security, on the advice of the Prime Minister, allowed the Vice President of Venezuela to come to Trinidad and Tobago. When we were in the middle of COVID and our borders were closed, the opposition led the charge on behalf of President Guaido, who they don't know where he is today, to say that the Prime Minister, they wrote to the United States.
Madam Speaker, Mrs. Rodriguez was appointed head of the national COVID response in Venezuela on the 27th of February. A few days later, she asked for a courtesy call on the Prime Minister of Trinidad and Tobago. That visit took place on the 26th of March. And Madam Speaker, we have said, both myself and other officers of the cabinet, and I'm clear that we had said that there was no prearranged agenda. It was a courtesy call in the context of our response to the COVID emergency.
Ms. Rodriguez came, there was no question or no asking of, well, what are you coming to discuss with us?
A few moments later.
So to have the member for Point appear and the former Minister of Energy and the leader of the opposition.
People, I know by now you are extremely confused. Yes, because a liar has no memory. And of course, it will be extremely difficult to put all of this in one nutshell. But I think, having regard to the buffoonery, having regard to the asinine explanations, having regard to what we know about Dr. Rowley and his entire government, and the latest, of course, edition of the arseness as either explanation or attempting, of course, not to be buffoons or fools, if they open their mouth and as a consequence of that, they leave no doubt that they are fools. I read an article today explaining gaslighting Trinidad style, and I think this maybe is the quintessential or the most, what I consider to be optimum and most appropriate explanation as to the nonsense that Rowley and this fella is short young has attempted to explain as far as Delcy Rodriguez and her presence here. He is saying that, of course, she became whatever it is, and that she asked for, of course, to visit. He's young, saying that there was no question of asking her what she come for. She come in for. Rowley, on the other hand, said, well, listen, it's specifically COVID. And then on the other hand, Short Long is saying that a good thing he opened up the borders because at that time he was extremely optimistic that the Dragon Gas deal would have come to fruition, and that therefore was boasting. And he was boasting about the situation and his optimism. But I think in between all of that, I think we should play this again so people will understand that it's only Kamala could save Trinidad and Tobago.
Time to go, time to go, time to go, it's time to go. Look, now is the time for Growly to go. It's only Kamla could fix Trinbago.
well, why are you signing so many agreements? Because the US put sanctions. And don't forget, that is what stopped it. Otherwise, the Dragon gas would have been in Trinidad since 2020. The US put sanctions and stopped the project. And
yes, people, we are in election mode on the corridor transformation.
To the US
we are
government
in
asking
election
for the
mode
member
on
for
the
Diego
Gong
Martin
report.
West
We
Prime
are
Minister.
in election mode
And for myself
on the Observer.
to be sanctioned by the United States. That is
election
part
mode
of our
all
history.
over Trinidad and
Because they
Tobago,
were supporting
every station,
President Guaido and asking why I let the Vice President of Venezuela, Delcy Rodriguez, into the country. Thank God I did, because today we have a future.
Madam Speaker, Mrs. Rodriguez was appointed head of the national COVID response in Venezuela on the 27th of February. A few days later, she asked for a courtesy call on the Prime Minister of Trinidad and Tobago. That visit.
Yes, indeed. A pleasant good night. Welcome. These people are simply, they have gone mad. Who the gods wish to destroy, the first send them mad. Well, one is saying one thing, the next one is saying the next thing. And of course, Kamala is very consistent. And of course, those who are saying that she ain't writing to international and other agencies. Well, of course, here only and they vexed because she wrote to the Americans to sanction the tail. And we don't know if that decision is yet to materialize, having regard to, of course, the seizure of Maduro's plane in the Dominican Republic and is now in the United States. Sanctioned, of course. A pleasant good night. Welcome.
A pleasant good night to you, Mr. Lennox, and all your listeners.
Yes, indeed.
To the World Wide Web. And all who are listening and sharing this live, share it again.
Yes, man. Share, share. Yes.
And I am speaking to you in a private capacity tonight again.
Okay.
Right? But if it is finally one when that ugly fellow called Keith Christopher Liar Rowley, they say that he don't know what the visit is and who was on the plane to come here.
We have it. Don't frighten me before the night finishes. We have it. I told you that when we focus, we laser focus. So we did all the preliminaries and leading up to this, so people will see clearly that these people are not just toxic, they are incompetent, they are empty, and they believe that they could fool the people all of the time, when in fact they were all along fooling themselves, abusing the offices that they would have fooled. Go ahead, my friend.
Right, so and nice to tie in all what you are showing with the two of them. And I want Trinidad and Tobago, they know that Rowley, Keith Christopher Rowley, the leader of the PNM, because I don't know if he's the Prime Minister of this country, because the Prime Minister don't really present themselves like that. But the nice thing about it, he is now grafting at straws, and he will try the Maduro pattern, because it was tested in Trinidad in one of the general elections when the court say the EBC was wrong. So the listeners of this program, I'm asking a question. If all that kind of wealth will come again to this country, why it is we have to pay property tax? And on this topic, when our esteemed political leader, Ms. Kamala Persad-Bissessar, SC, had said that they wanted to put a luxury tax on the citizen, Rowley and India fight it down tooth and nail and deny it. So I just want to ask the question to the listeners. When Christopher Rowley said, and I quote, that there is a lot of equity, liquidity, meaning the cash in the financial institution sitting there, doing nothing, just holding there for people. And he want to get his hands on it to invest it and turn it around and to serve the country better. Is that not now that inheritance tax, you could have get it from the people? Or that they wanted to get it and now you come up with an idea how to take it from the people? So citizens and who are listening to this program, food for thought, and let me understand what for 9 years we learned about all the lies they could come up with. And now you're seeing more than ever that the people are uniting and coming together, and all they can talk about is Ramona, and they could talk that Paria them, the dissident. Eh? And then we nice young lady in Digo Martin, Miss Marsha Walker. So you see, it raised in the head. And those who talking about Michaela Party, when is the right time for she to launch and come out to talk to the people? Is it a YouTube party that will canvas on social media? So people, our destiny is on our hand. And every night, Mr. Lennox is bringing the facts and showing everybody, let's unite and come together. Gaspy Dolly live on our program and look at the school children. Have a nice night, Trinidad and Tobago.
Yes, yes, my friend. You have been comprehensive there, man. And when you hear me, because you can't see me, but when you hear me smiling like that, it's because I am so elated, I'm so saturated with optimism that the people eventually will do what is required. What we must understand from playing these, what I consider to be recently created and delivered utterances, is that Kamala Prasad Bisesa has always been correct. Let us not waste time. Kamala Prasad Bisesa, and therefore the UNC, has always been correct. From day one, I'm talking about since 2010. And in opposition, she has always been on the button. On the other hand, from 2015, this deposit of despicable misery for Trinidad and Tobago, unprecedented, are talking about Rowley and the PNM, they have always been wrong. Just observe that. But let's go straight to the lines. Let's go straight to the lines. It's important that we put things in perspective. I am extremely elated. Pleasant good night. Welcome to the corridor.
Let me clear my throat for this one, Lennox.
Yes. Do that.
Good night.
Yes.
Lennox, let me take a sip of water too.
Do that. Oh, just to make sure you are energized, and of course,
just to make sure. Lennox,
yes.
I am enjoying this program here tonight. Lennox, people just want to say, oh, we just only go to the past. We only bringing up the past. But the past is a very important thing.
And mind you, this is not the
important.
past. 2 days, 3 days ago, the Americans seized in the Dominican Republic the presidential jet of Maduro. That is why I brought it up.
Yeah.
And it was sanctioned.
Yeah.
And it was the same sanctioned, another sanctioned jet, for the time being, that is my information, that came here with the vice president. So therefore, we have to find out whether or not Trinidad and Tobago is still on the potential sanction list. And that, to me, is recent.
And it speaks a lot, Lennox.
Yes.
And I want to know, are we still blacklisted, Lennox?
That's right.
Are we still blacklisted? But you see, Lennox, some people like to take credit for what they do, right?
Yes.
And as you rightly said, it was Mrs. Prasad Bisesa who raised it. We were raising it all the time.
That's right.
Right? Because we heard at Arnold Roberts, and they had no shame to say that whatever they raised, Arnold was raising it. Imagine that. Imagine that. I tell you, people, they're hurting their bicep, clapping themselves on the back, Lennox.
Yes.
And as Arnold was telling us the 10 different stories that Rowley came up with. At first he didn't know why she come. She come for groceries. She come to see about the COVID people, how people here with COVID. One set of blasted lies. One set of lies. And now he's talking about the opposition wrote the Americans are telling them to sanction Rowley and him. Yes, sanction them because they had no right to let
and sanction them in a particular context. Notice she did not say Trinidad and Tobago or the people. She specifically said those who would have sacrificed us for their personal aggrandizement. Let's get clear.
Yeah.
She did not say sanction Trinidad and Tobago. That is why she wrote, because she wanted the Americans to know that is not we the people.
That
we
had
were
nothing to
mere
do with it,
victims. Yes, of Rowley and their shenanigans.
And Monilal said it.
Yes.
Monilal said it. Sanction the two of them.
That's right.
Leave the rest of us out of it.
That's right.
Leave the rest out of it.
Let's get out clear.
We have been following it all along. We have been following it all along. Right? But you know, people love to take credit for things they ain't do. They
Yes.
like Rowley and them.
Yes.
You hear? Yeah. And he coming out to talk a set of crap, and look how everything coming. Look at how he lied on Mandela. He lied on the man until the man had to get
Yes,
involved
we're
in our
coming to
politics.
that as well. We're coming to all of that. We want the people to see.
Yeah.
There's a bunch of con men, criminals, and it is deliberate. It is
Yeah.
conscientious. It is designed.
We
It is
have to
orchestrated.
remind
It is, of
people.
course, choreographed. Let's not waste
Who
time
are-
with that. Don't feel that these people are people. They have a bottomless pit of tricks.
No, they're not.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have to remind people, Lennox, of the nastiness and the dishonest people that they are.
That's
And
right.
Lennox, we must also remind them how dangerous these people are.
That's right.
Imagine, Lennox, a couple, maybe some weeks ago, I'll get the exact date for you. Saturday, August, there was even a couple of weeks, Saturday, August 17th. Hossein, right? Despite the rapidly changing weather, Minister of Agriculture, Land and Fisheries, Kazim Hossein's spirit remained undampened as he welcomed guests to the second Agro Expo at the Queen's Park Savannah. And he is saying agriculture is the foundation of civilization. But what did they do to the people in Bagatelle, Lennox? What was that? What was that? You see how they just contradict themselves, Lennox?
And mind
see
you,
how
it
they
is
just contradict
consistent
themselves?
what they do to the people on Duncan Street. Don't forget that.
Yeah.
Recently. And of course, at the same time, attempting to try to neutralize that by Cummins, well, you don't know if he's going or coming, saying that he generating homestead about 20 or 40 out of 200 applications, and then saying, well, listen, that is at the agricultural program, but yet still you're mashing down, I
You're
think,
mashing down the people
ready
garden.
for
Yeah.
harvesting. So those are mature crops, ready for the market.
And look at the size of the chickens, Lennox.
I'm showing you that. And
And the mama guy the people,
cannot
the
prevail.
mama guy the people,
Yes.
the mama guy the people with this youth project, agricultural project.
Yeah.
The mama guy the people.
It's
No, here next
pure
one.
political aggrandizement
Yeah.
and opportunism that will fail
If you-
because it is not sincere.
Lennox, if you can dazzle them with brilliance and baffle them with bullshit,
Yes, man.
and they fall in faith.
Yes.
But we have to open their eyes.
That's right.
Look on Independence Day. Rowley is saying the Prime Minister, the citizens of TNT, regardless of their diverse origins, continue to show a phenomenal harmony and respect for each other. What? I can't say it like Anil. I want about what, but I can't say it like Anil.
Hey, and it was brilliant today with all of the iniquities.
Yes.
I will be playing that tomorrow, not tomorrow night, tomorrow is Friday, but certainly on Saturday, I will give him all because I think nobody could say it like him. He has the tone.
Like him, yeah.
Yeah, he has the articulations, and he has the, what I consider the reverberation. He's a loud mouth.
Yeah.
Yes.
He has a good deliverance.
Yes.
Lennox, where is the harmony and respect for each other? Look at what happened to those two young siblings.
Oh boy, that is a how
Look at how each yes.
I wouldn't want that for my worst enemy, boy. Chopping up
Yeah,
his chopping, his cutlass, that
Yeah,
was a long.
and
That was before the guns.
Nobody can say why he did it. I mean, with a gun, Lennox is
Clean,
his son,
clean,
right?
Yeah. And your thing,
Right,
but
with this
God, boy.
though, yeah.
The
I mean, when you
intention
get a
is
little
clean.
cut, Lennox,
Yeah, boy.
that is hurt. That is hurt for days.
I could
And follows for
imagine how
something
them
like that.
people
I hope.
suffer, boy.
You know what I was hoping for? You know what I hoped for, Lennox?
Mm.
That they died instantly.
I
And they
would,
didn't feel the
but
second or third chop.
I don't think that is possible with chops, Then,
I don't think
unless
that
it
happened.
fling off
No,
a person's neck or
I don't
something.
think that happened.
No.
Yeah,
Yeah, because they would have had to
Oh,
fend
God,
for
Lennox,
themselves.
that was
They
so
would be getting
gruesome.
chopped
And
all
he
over their hand.
talking-
All that. God.
Yeah. And you talk about respect for each other. If you had respected the children of our nation, you would have fixed all the schools for them, not have them suffering so.
Yes.
And Gatsby Dolly coming to tell us no, it didn't have enough money. Stop thieving. Stop thieving, stop the corruption, and all you will have money.
You know, they
Look at
making
the
a
condition
mockery
of
of
that
them, you know.
Mayaro school.
They making a mockery of that woman, you know, how she become, now they question how
Yeah.
she become education minister because it appears she has no education. None.
No, because Lennox, she's a mother. That was Rowley qualification for her.
Oh, I see.
Because she's a mother. She and the junior minister, they are
Well,
mothers.
it
So
appears
they
that she's a
care for the
delinquent mother.
children.
So they're different mother. A delinquent
Yeah.
mother is a mother too.
They
But
are mothers
if you're
and mothers, you know.
delinquent, you're a mother as well. You make children, but you're
Yeah.
delinquent. So it means that you have no use, you're of no effect, null and void, and of no consequence.
But Lennox, I asked the question this morning.
Yes.
Where are the parents of that Mayaro school? Look at the condition of that.
Oh gosh, boy. Well, apart
Lennox,
from
that
the
school did
killing,
not
it
get so
highlighted, of
overnight.
course, yeah, boy. So if it wasn't the killing,
It did not get
we
so
would have
overnight.
gotten information
We would
as to
never
the
have
situation
known.
with that school. So
Yeah.
it's just disaster after disaster. It's just that this
Yeah.
this clash
Because of the
simultaneously. Yeah.
blight. It's because of the blight that run in the country.
Yes, boy.
Because of the blight.
You have to say that, boy.
Right? He said we continue to show phenomenal harmony and respect for each other. You don't have to keep going back to that line, eh? Right?
But,
Who
but,
advised
but
people?
the part, there's another part that he says which caught my attention. That, of course, the development is suggesting that somehow Trinidad and Tobago is on a developmental path with, of course, this maroon, or this, should I say, moron at the helm and criminal at the head of our affairs. I mean, the man knows no limit to arsonist.
He said the country's economical buffer remains strong.
That's right. That's
Inflation has
area, yes.
subsided,
Yes, yes.
and there was strong signs of growth in the non-oil sector. Unemployment rate stood at 4.1% in 2023, with further progress expected this year. Both our Heritage and Stabilization Fund and external revenues are approaching a US $6 billion,
What
giving us an 8-month import cover. Lennox.
he was thinking, he was auditioning for Larry Joseph show, or what? Because it had to
Yes,
be a
it
joke.
had to be.
Yeah. Has to be.
This man is a real mocking pretender, you know, Lennox.
Yes.
A real mocking pretender.
What he said about our reserve and how much months of import is that will be very interesting because I didn't read the article, but I'm glad that I gleaned from what you just said. So let's read that part again, so people will have an
Both
appreciation.
our
I'll make a comment.
Heritage and Stabilization Fund and external revenues are approaching the US $6 billion, giving us an 8-month import cover. This is even after we have carefully used some of the interest from the earning of the fund to bail us out during the recent series of unplanned difficulties in the pandemic and post-pandemic era. Lennox, you hear lie?
Oh, listen.
Is lying.
No, listen. He focused on the Heritage and Civilization Fund because
Yes.
normally, now listen carefully, normally you will ascribe, of course, the amount of imports you have with respect to the reserves. But notice he talk about the heritage and civilization, because if he had to talk about the reserves, he would have had to explain somehow how it moved from 12 billion to about 5 billion now under him in just 9 years. You understand the play? So he focused on the heritage. Yes. I tell you, I know the man T. So even though I didn't read that, but I agree from what you're reading there. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Careful. So why all the COVID money gone? He's saying here that they use some for the pandemic and so, but they use it after. Where the COVID money gone, Lennox? We got 22 billion US dollars. Where did the money go?
But
Where
more
did
than
it
that,
go?
because they use that, the disadvantage to Trinidad and Tobago, the deterioration of our circumstances because of the use of that has been reflected in, of course, in the Moody and S&P's credit rating. Because you see, if you have to dip into your sovereign fund, which of course that is there for the rainy day, it suggests that the rainy day had come, and therefore when them people come to rate you, no matter what you do, once you touch that, it means therefore something is wrong. And notice he ain't
Something's
talking
wrong,
about
yeah.
the reserve at all, because he met $12 billion. In other words, Kamala and they met 12 billion US, and now it is about 4 to 5 billion. He ain't talking about that at all, because it is so obvious that it will show that you are lying, it is so conspicuous that nobody could even consider the nonsense you're talking. So he leaves that out. But even when he speaks glowingly about the Heritage and Celebration Fund, not only did he miss that it lost money about 2021, 2022. It lost money. It didn't make a cent. The first time it has ever not made a cent under this government. But more importantly, when you say you met 5 billion and you use up whatever you use up, whether it's a billion or more, the fact of the matter is that if you say
Lennox, we're talking about US dollars, eh?
yeah, yes. But if you said that it has gone back to 5 billion, it means therefore that whatever you took out ought to have been there, and it would have been 5 billion plus. But he making it look as though he making it look as though that is a big credit, that is a big plus for his administration, when in fact it has two devastating negative impact for the country. One, that it is not the true amount, because it ought to be the 5 billion plus what you took out in the Heritage and Celebration Fund. And secondly, to Moody's and other credit rating agencies, it will show that there is something fundamentally flawed in the economy and the management of our resources, and therefore we have a downgrade consistently. That is what that has shown.
That's right.
Yes.
And Lennox, let me give you one for the road.
Go ahead, man.
Rowley said some examples of that new optimistic spirit included the government emphasis on vocational and skills training, and vulnerable citizens continuing to benefit from social grants, social services, free health care and medicine, in addition to the government subsidies for water, electricity, transport, and education grant. You hear lie? That is lie. Then why? Why did he go away? Why did he go away for I would say perfect health care? Why did you stay here if the health care you boast about so good? Huh? Why you do that for? But you see, Lennox, he could only fool some of the people all of the time. Thanks a lot, Lennox,
but
and have
not
a good
even
night.
them, I believe, he could fool all of the time. I can
because they're wising up, eh?
Yeah, because they're wising up.
They're wising up.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right.
Take care, Lennox,
Yes,
and have
thanks
a
very
good
much.
night.
Very, very interactive and a very interesting
As usual.
dialogue. Yes. Okay, thanks. Yes, indeed. That was, of course, our external correspondent, Miss Santa Cruz, giving her piece, and of course, what a piece she delivered there. Of course, as I said, whilst we were talking about, of course, the Delcy Rodriguez fiasco, and whether or not, we must question whether or not Trinidad and Tobago has not met that which is inevitable, because the old people have a saying that what they meet you in pass you, and therefore why is the sanction ain't come yet? You could talk how much you want, just of course as those persons who make up these fly-by-night political organizations, and they could do this and they could do that and they could do that and they go win this and they go win that, of course, and at the end of the day is the UNC would, of course, dominate, whether as government or whether as opposition, and leave them out in the cold with nothing, of course, to show for all that talk they would have given during the campaign and before election day. The proof of the pudding is what? In, of course, the outcome of the elections on election day itself and the tally thereof. So, that being as it may, let's get back, of course, to the whole question. There was something that Ms. Santa Cruz mentioned that caught my attention that I wanted to elaborate upon. I hope that it could come back to my memory or my mind during the course of the program. But yes, indeed, you are seeing, of course, and witnessing the convolutions. You are seeing, of course, the deviations. You are seeing, of course, the contradictions between Rowley and, of course, this fella called Stuart Young, who he has incidentally left as acting Prime Minister on this occasion. We are yet to find out why not Imbert or Imsbert. Of course, is it that he has demonstrated more imps than Rowley and or Stuart Young? We don't know, but of course Stuart Young is considered to be a small pin. I like to call him a moron because of course he expresses a lot of oxymorons, but I love to utilize the suffix of the word oxymoron in order to treat with an adequate description of this man. But let's go back to Rowley and hear what he has to say. Very interesting indeed. Of course, you heard Kamala Prasad yesterday and the day before in terms of the aircraft that landed here in Trinidad during COVID, in the lockdown scenario, and it turned out that it was in fact sanctioned, and we have to always count our lucky stars in the circumstances that things are so bad, and of course these people are so blighted that World War III could have started right here at Piaco Airport if the Americans had known, having regard to the fact that they went to the Dominican Republic and seized, of course, the president of Venezuela's plane, that this despotic dictator called Maduro, who, like Rowley, refused to leave office, to leave, even though in circumstances where the people simply do not want you. The majority of them, that is, because as we have said, the devil and all has its imps, not angels, imps, not disciples, imps, and of course, no doubt in Trinidad as well. Why? Because 30 pieces of silver, our money that is being distributed in what I consider to be in circumstances where people arrogate unto themselves that right to do because they hold the office for the time being, and it has a certain legal, let's say, laxity, legal authority for the office holder. And that is what Rowley and they are using in order to keep those persons loyal to the nonsense that they are doing. But let's get down to the confessions of Rowley and Stuart Young.
It took place on the 26th of March. And Madam Speaker, we have said, both myself and other officers of the cabinet, I'm clear that we had said that there was no prearranged agenda. It was a courtesy call in the context of our response to the COVID emergency.
Mr. Rodriguez came, there was no question or no asking of, well, what are you coming to discuss with us?
Now, just imagine again, no asking what you're coming to discuss was a courtesy call. Here it is now, Rowley is saying that she came here in the context of COVID. And then in law, in a court of law, it is called circumstantial evidence. While we don't have the nitty-gritty, the granular information, the nuts and bolt information, common sense will tell one, as I made the example on the last occasion, a person suffering from a gunshot wound, somebody running away from the scene with a gun in his hand, and while you did not see the person deliver the shot or pull the trigger, the circumstantial evidence is one that fella who was running away from the scene would have committed the crime, and for which they must be held culpable, and therefore they cannot be exculpated from, of course, the act that they obviously would have done based on circumstantial evidence. Well, it's the same damn thing here. And let's see a few moments later what happened.
A few moments later.
So to have the member for Point appear and the former Minister of Energy and the leader of the opposition ask, well, why are you signing so many agreements? Because the US put sanctions. And don't forget, that is what stopped it. Otherwise, the Dragon gas would have been in Trinidad since 2020. The US put sanctions and stopped the project. And let us not forget, those on the other side wrote to the US government asking for the member for
well
Digo
done,
Martin
Kamala.
West, the Prime Minister,
Like you did with the Privy
and
Council
for myself
verdict.
to be sanctioned by the United States. That is part of our history because they were supporting President Guaido and asking, and for myself to be sanctioned by the United States. And let us not forget those on the other side wrote to the US government asking for the member for Digo Martin West, the Prime Minister, and for myself to be sanctioned by the United States. That is part of our history because they were supporting President Guaido and
No, hear this buffoon, hear this asinine specimen of inhumanity, hear this nerd, hear this mentally decrepit. Yeah, looking for some adjectives to describe what I'm hearing here because it simply defies logic and common sense. He is saying there, I wonder if he'd have listened to himself. I suppose that might be the epitome of madness if you start talking and then talking back to yourself, asking yourself questions, etc. But hear him. Guaido, how Guaido come in that? When Kamala Prasad Bisesa was clear, it was about the sanction that you invited sanctioned planes, sanctioned persons into Trinidad and Tobago. That is what Kamala Prasad says. And don't get me vexed before I play she prematurely again to get that into all your blasted head, especially those who are of a recalcitrant nature and who are in almost a perpetual state of denial and don't want to accept the facts and the truth of the matter and will, of course, try to gravitate to the deflection and the deception and the blatant lies. These, of course, political and human ne'er-do-wells. And it is nasty, it is evil, it is wicked, it is dangerous as they continue to deprive the downtrodden and the poor. Bagatelle and, of course, Duncan Street were just recent episodes of that devilish, that diabolical, and that Luciferian conduct of indurate individuals who are merciless and heartless. I suppose when you're studying rocks, you can become a rock-hearted individual, including a rock-headed human being.
Asking why I let the Vice President of Venezuela, Delcy Rodriguez, into the country. Thank God I did, because today we have a future.
Imagine that. We have a future, but it's no future. Today we have a future, but it's no future because no oil, no gas. Man, it's PNM nothing. A pleasant good night. Welcome.
Good night, Mr. Lennox.
Good night to you.
How are you this evening?
Well, of course, I'm feeling bubbling, knowing full well that we have been doing what we have to do and that people are becoming more and more conscientious of their role and responsibility. And then when the next election is called, they will do human service. You know,
yes, I call him from down south.
Okay, go ahead, man.
Into Barrackport. That clown just talked there.
Yes.
That clown, that fella, he deserves to drown him in the sea or put him into one of those pipelines.
Yeah.
That he ignored. The poor people suffering today.
Yes.
You understand?
Yes.
But that fella, I don't know, he and Rowley have the same head. You see what happened to Maduro?
Mm-hmm.
We have to do him that here, you know. Tell the people, come out and do the thing. Get this wicked man. He's a dictator. Just, you see Maduro crying already, eh?
Yeah, of course. He's not certain as to what his future will be. We certain of what Rowley's future will be. Blue lights and silver bracelet for sure. And
silver bracelet on his waist.
Yes, and as I said last night, if we try a Maduro and try to usurp and undermine and to stay in office there by utilizing his tenants that he would have amalgamated from the police and so on,
exactly,
he will be assassinated. I'm saying that at the risk of being seditious. They could say what they want. I'm saying that if Rowley try what Maduro is now trying to stay in office by, of course, utilizing his coercive tenants, that he will be assassinated.
Assassinated backside.
Yes.
He's a wicked man.
That's right.
He has evil
That's right. That
This
is what's going to
country
happen
is only
in
shedding
that
blood.
context. You can't
But
believe
he-
that he lucky. Will be as fortunate as Maduro. No, for the time being,
No,
of
he
course.
cannot be fortunate, Lennox. He
Yes.
cannot be fortunate. He missed it once, he missed it twice. This third time, his bracelet on his waist.
That's right. Bracelet on the
Blue
waist, I like
light.
that one.
Yeah, you know, I'm telling you, Lennox.
Yes.
Because here, what? You playing golf and you have 15 vehicles around you like you, Jesus. Huh?
Yeah.
You hear what? People in Trinidad and Tobago, they better wake up and smell the coffee, Lennox. Otherwise, you know what? This man will tax you when you're dead and lie down in your grave.
Of course.
Yeah, he will take all the gold teeth.
Yeah,
and he
they
will
go
put
to
it in his
bed.
pocket.
They go to bed thinking
Yes.
as what more evil to do to the people of Trinidad and Tobago, and get up
Exactly.
next day and announce and implement. That is what
Yes.
that is what they have demonstrated over the last 9 years so far.
9 years and nothing had been done.
Yes,
Only bloodshed. Anywhere you turn,
that's right.
you're messing blood.
Yes,
And
and then
this
claiming
bitch,
that
this
are
wicked
telling us
bitch,
it
Rowley.
is not so.
Yeah.
Telling us it's not so.
Lennox,
That is
I
really
tell you,
explain.
go
They
and
tell us it's
brief.
not so.
Rowley is an evil. That man is a dragon in. But he ain't no dragon again, you know, because Guadalupe going to go to jail.
Yes.
So where the gas coming from? You go come from Rowley belly?
Yeah, it appears that it may be bowel gas. Yes.
A bowel gas, and that
Yeah,
will be
the
stinking.
consequence of digestion and bacterial decomposition in the large intestine. Yes.
I'm telling you, Lennox,
Mhm.
have a good night, sir.
Same to you, my friend. Thanks
And
for calling.
all the best.
Yes. Thank you very much. Let's get another taste of this thing. I really feel
And Madam Speaker,
that we must understand.
Mrs.
What we are
Rodriguez
dealing
was appointed head of the national COVID response in Venezuela on the 27th of February. A few days later, she asked for a courtesy call on the Prime Minister of Trinidad and Tobago. That visit
Remember, of course, Stuart Young say as the minister responsible for giving the approval, it didn't occur as how Rowley say that she asked for a courtesy. He said that there was no question of asking her what she coming for. He Rowley is saying, so he had to have second-hand information from the minister, and he started saying something totally diametrically opposite to what Young is saying. Young saying she didn't say, he's saying that she said. And then, of course, as Kamala evidence shows, Delcy Rodriguez only came with people from Peter Vista and, of course, some financial people clearly from the Ministry of Finance in Venezuela to do what? Clearly, the conclusion must be, the corollary must be to pay for that shipment of fuel that ended up in Venezuela through Paria. Rowley, how much all they get out of that? Where that money gone? A pleasant good night. Oh gosh. Yes, go ahead.
Yeah.
Yes.
No, go.
Yeah. Go ahead, Mr. Tagarigo. You there? Mr. Tagariga, go ahead. Oh, wait, let me see. I have two calls on the line, so I'm not familiar with how to suspend one. Against some assistants here for my assistant. So somebody has to wait, and another one has to engage. In the meantime, let's hear Rowley and his version as to why Delcy was here. All right, so let's go to this one. A pleasant good night.
Yes, pleasant good night to you, Mr. Lennox.
Good night to you.
Yes, I want to know of the situation with all the killings and all the things that is happening and the threat that is coming through the phone and so for people.
Yes.
Is there anywhere that you all have anything planned to get that system, the phone and the communication system being monitored with people who have been receiving threats and anything like that?
Well, of course, there's a cyber unit of the police service, as you may know or not know. But whether it is functioning is a different story. We have seen detection rate at its all-time low. We have seen, of course, conviction at its all-time low. So we really have what I consider to be a superficial police service only in name, but in terms of functionality, protecting the people, protecting those who may be subjected to cybercrime, etc. I am not optimistic at all, and therefore we have to fend for ourselves. And that is why I endorse and support the stand your ground legislation as announced by Kamla Prasad Bisesa and other, of course, defense mechanism, including, of course, splitting up the Ministry of Finance into Homeland Security and, of course, one for our borders, so as to treat with the heinous and awful crimes that are taking place. People are being dismembered and their parts are being thrown or deposited in different parts of the country or locales. And therefore, we know that is typical of the Latin Americans, the Latinos. And we have too much here not to be comfortable, apart from a recent report from the United Nations that say that we have Venezuelan gangs now operating in Trinidad.
Yes.
So that is an ominous sign.
Yes. Yes, and I believe that the criminals are using that technology to really commit crimes.
Yes, that is what is happening. Yes, more ways than one. Even Rowley, remember Rowley came from, I think, was from Guyana, and then he said, well, listen, he got a call from Bill Gates. Remember that? He said he got a call from Bill Gates Foundation, and that they have are not so insignificant, meaning that a significant. When you have two negatives in a sentence, it ends up a positive. So he said not so insignificant amount of money for Trinidad and Tobago. So when he made the announcement, and of course he beat his chest when he went home, they were asking him, of course, to deposit some money before, of course, he could get to the largest or the bonus that they said that he would have gotten for Trinidad and Tobago. He then, of course, sent out a Facebook. He didn't come back and talk to us face to face. He sent a Facebook notice telling us that he got duped, that somebody wanted, of course, to get some money from him, and he would not have seen them at all after that. That is the level of arseness that we have purporting to be, of course, Prime Minister and so on, and again duped in that way, apart from all of the other, should I say, ineffective and incompetent and clearly inimical policies and programs that he has invented that has produced nothing of substance for Trinidad and Tobago. Go ahead, my friend.
Yes, and now even so, what about the hidden cameras that they're putting around? They're putting all around the place. They have hidden cameras. Is there a group monitoring these different areas?
You never could tell, because the police just discovered a gang monitoring even the police itself in Tanapuna, for example. You don't know how much of that is in the system right now, because of course you can't distinguish. They're so bright, they're probably using the same cameras that the police is using, and therefore you can't make the distinction. So you have all of that in Trinidad and Tobago. Trinidad and Tobago is really not a real place. But what I can assure you, we are heading for what? For a failed state, even though we are not a real place.
Yes, by grace we will get there, because you see, the more good we do and the more joined to do good, the bad cannot conquer good, and no grounds at all.
That's right. Well, eventually, of course, you have Kamla Prasad Bisesa that will come on the scene, and I'm certain with the policies and programs, she has never been wrong. Every single thing you say, and I want anybody to challenge me, she has never been wrong about Rowley and what she has put in the public space for in our interest. And Rowley, even though he tried to defend it in the initial stage and denied, it always turned out to be ratifying or vindicating Kamla Prasad Bisesa. Always for the last 9 years.
And one of the big problem with the rowdy people is because they have a government within a government that controlled them. They themselves don't run the government. They have a government within a government.
Whether that is so or not, my concern and your concern must be that we elected them, and whether they allow the government to be captured, then they ought not to have been in office at all. They should resign if they are true patriots. Thank you very much. Of course, we have some other people on the line. I don't want to frustrate them.
Yes,
But
and I never vote for PNM. I always vote for my sister Kamala. I never
beautiful,
vote for
beautiful.
PNM.
That is
I
the
will
place
never
to go.
vote for them.
That's the place
That's
to
a
be.
final vote to them.
Yes, indeed. Thank you very much. Those who were calling, don't be frustrated. I know about 2 calls came whilst that caller was on, but I had to take the call because, we try to give people a fair shake. But, of course, when there are overwhelming numbers, we have to, of course, emasculate or truncate people's contribution. That is a natural management tool that you must use in such circumstances. A pleasant night. Welcome. Sorry about the cutoff.
You hear me good,
Yes, loud and clear, my friend.
All right. So, Chung is a born liar.
A born liar. I hear you.
If you the man attack the police tonight on television,
Right.
Yeah, you want to know what they're doing about crime. You
Well,
can
just imagine
imagine
that.
that?
Yeah, they're absolving themselves. What about the 10-point plan that they said that they had? What about Rowley's, of course, up in Beetham? He said that, listen, Beetham is a special place with special problems, and therefore special initiatives has to be taken to solve the problem. Today, of course, at another time, he said he failed on crime. I'll pay it now. It is up there now, and now you play now that you want to stay in office unmeritoriously. Man, get the hell out. Go ahead, my friend.
Well, Lennox, you can remember Walter Mondale?
Yes. Yeah, he
ambassador?
and that encounter, Mandela, for the first time, a diplomat. Imagine that, a visitor at that level, diplomacy at that level, had to come out and say, Chochong, you lie. I spoke to you about Delcy Rodriguez. It was incumbent upon me so to do. The government, my government, the United States would have expected me to speak about it. How dare you say that never came up? And then, of course, he came back with some kind of convoluted semantics in order to say that he didn't understand. But there's a blasted moron. Stay out of government.
I watch me. They show you the man getting Rowley the check first for COVID.
Yes.
And then they show you Rowley, they just say nobody give no money.
Yeah, but
remember that?
Yeah. But Rowley said Delcy came about COVID, but only people with financial background and connected to Peter Vista, and then a shipment of fuel from Paria ended up in Venezuela, breaching sanction in more ways than one. That's about 12 different sanctions elements in the break there.
He didn't even know the people who come there.
Yeah, he didn't even know. So he say, but don't mind he. No, you can't take him for that.
I just showed you.
Yeah. That's a public claim. It's public claim to fool us. And then upset. Plainly upset about Kamala Prasad Bissessa's expose.
Well, sure, John one man get attacked the police.
Well, boy, when they lock up his tail, eventually, I bet you, they will start to cry foul, all kind of thing. But let me tell you something. These fellas have no real influence, or put another way, support in the PNM. They are only there, and
how them get in there in the first place, I don't know.
Yeah, but being there is because you have sycophants that are concerned about the party. Has nothing to do with them. If Young, Rowley, Hines, and all of them decide to organize a separate party outside of the PNM tomorrow, nobody will fat on them. Understand that? So people have a connection, cultural and historical, to the PNM as an entity, but it has been morphed into a criminal enterprise, and we have to, of course, disabuse that and let the people know that is what is happening with these evil people that has commandeered that party. It's a bunch of criminals. It's a criminal enterprise. It's a mafia.
Right. Let me say one more thing.
Go ahead, my friend.
Mikey, I told my ambassador from the police on the program last night. So I'm talking about the businessmen to listen.
Yes.
He said the businessmen must let nobody come and extort them.
Yes.
They must report it to the police. Because once you start up to go and pay them, you're grip forever.
Yeah, well, of course. I mean, that is how it is. That is the name. That is it in the gang world, in the criminal world. Once you cowed, they see you as a coward, and they will, of course, exploit your team and extract every single cent that they can from you. You are a soft target, and they want to. They don't want to work more than they need to in order to extort. Yes, to fill the pockets.
Three businessmen came forward.
Yes.
And in no time flat, they held them.
Right.
So I want to tell these businessmen. And the senior superintendent of this Northern Division, Mr. Joseph, who came down from South, he said the same thing. If you don't come and report, how we got to act?
Yes.
And I want to tell them, don't think for the police. Your thinking might be way off. So what the police thinking?
Yes.
Why you talking to a police LENNOX? Are you telling yourself that this makes sense?
Yeah.
Because they go, police, what do you think police is? Experienced police know what to do.
Yes.
Right? And he said, stand your ground. Don't give in to them. So I want to tell these businessmen.
But you know that is easier said than done because you can lose your life.
Yeah, we know that. You're going to take all into consideration.
Yes.
But you have to stand up enough.
Yeah, well, something has to give. Something has to give. So
you can't give away all the way what you
yeah. You hard-earned money and you hard-earned business. All right. That's it there?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay, thanks. Yes, indeed. Of course. Let's go straight, of course, to Rowley. Of course, the caller that was waiting, you can now call. We have a very active line tonight, but that is how the chips fall from time to time. Don't forget, of course, to share. Don't forget, of course, we still continue to look at delivering to the poor. You know, we are in a poor community, more poor than where we were before. Talking about George and Nelson and Piccadilly and East Port of Spain in general, and therefore, of course, the people are really reeling. But I'm satisfied that they are coming around slowly but surely, and I know that with our presence here, the likelihood that they would generate the paradigm shift that is required, rather than the paradigm paralysis that they would have grown accustomed to over the years, as those elements who would like to keep the PNM in office simply because they have a CPEP contract or they have a job that they consider to be significant, and therefore their job is to keep the people in bondage. I think that bondage is now being broken, and of course it is music to a person like mine is indeed, having worked, of course, so long in the vineyard, forming, of course, even the corridor transformation to generate the transformation that is required for people to at least break that link, break that chain of dependence, and of course, Mama Guy and despicable brainwashing of the people by only talk. Whilst, of course, Rowley and they sit where they are and eat ham, lamb, and jam, whilst you, of course, suffer the indignities of crime, criminality, young people dying either because they form gangs and because they are in gangs, or at the hands of the police. I mean, it is a shambolic scenario, one that requires, of course, immediate attention.
It took place on the 26th of March. And, Madam Speaker, we have said, both myself and other officers of the cabinet, I'm clear that we had said that there was no prearranged agenda. It was a courtesy call in the context of our response
no prearranged agenda,
to the COVID emergency.
And it's COVID.
Mr. Rodriguez came. There was no question or no asking of, well, what are you coming to discuss with us?
A few moments later.
So to have the member for Point appear and the former Minister of Energy and the leader of the opposition ask, well, why are you signing so many agreements? Because the US put sanctions. And don't forget,
let's go to the line.
That is what stopped it. Otherwise, the Dragon gas would have been in Trinidad since 2020. The US put...
Sorry about that. Let me just make sure everything's in place. Right. Professor, good night. Welcome.
Good night,
good night to you as well, my friend.
And pleasant good night to the right thinking citizens of Trinidad and Tobago.
Yes, indeed.
Mr. Lennox, you know, today I was listening some news and looking at that clipping where we had a flock of Venezuelans came in here last night into this morning, right?
Uh-huh.
So and it have a rumor going wrong where certain Coast Guard saying that they were told allegedly to stay on base and do not go and protect the coastline.
Right. Yes.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
So I say that to say this man and his cabinet would stop at nothing, right?
Mm-hmm.
In order to get to the top, right?
Yes.
And I hope he know while he there, if he do get to the top, meaning to say that dragon fielding, right?
Yes.
I want to know how he will get that back together, but because like, he don't care about that. He will stop at nothing. He allowing anything to happen for the love of that dragon field gas. When you really pay attention to what is taking place in our beloved Twin Island, right?
Mm-hmm.
And because if you look at the triple murder by coastline, most of the time them is drug deal that go in shower and look like as when it's linked into the Coast Guard and them who stating that allegedly that they were told not to go out and protect the coastline.
Yeah.
So all these things adding up, men dead in pipeline, boat to over in Tobago, up to now we can't know who's the owner of the boat, who thing, moving with oil. So this man will stop at nothing in order to get that deal done. So, and this is why I'm telling people, pay attention. Watch all the things because it's easy to add up and realize this guy and his cabinet would stop at nothing in order to get that dragon field because they want to buy private plane too, to call it Air Force One at Trinidad. That's what I want to know.
Of course.
They want to be super.
And at the same time, hoping by those mechanisms to stay in government to do us that kind of what I consider to be profligate spending in their personal interests and forget the rest of us.
Yes, and this is what I'm telling people. If we give them, and somebody say 9, I say you're wrong. I say we give them 40-something years, and up to now they ain't get it right. Do get it right if we give them 5 more years?
Yes, you're right, my friend. Very good, very good.
We give them 40-something years, Mr. Lennox, and they get it right. You give them 5 more to do what?
Exactly, to do
Make me have to go and seek refuge in the next country? I'm just saying. And the next thing again, the next point I want to bring very quickly is we have the I ain't for correction. The biggest allocation in the last budget went to Ministry of Education. Correct?
Yes, you're correct. You're correct. Yes.
All right. And we have a Minister of Education, and I think I can't pronounce your name. Or I can say bundles. Get all that allocation and telling the people they don't have enough money to do what? I wonder if people know how much is $1 billion. I wonder if somebody could write $1 billion, write the figure of $1 billion. I want to tell people who are 20 schools in open. Could be more. Because the media sell we a dream because the media backing them also.
Yes. Yes, I agree.
Right? So I want to know where really going on. And somebody telling me they ain't collect all that money. I say, well, if they collect all that money, it's still the government to be blamed because them is part of the administration. So if they ain't collect the allocation, it's still the same government to be blamed. So wait a minute, because they ain't collect the allocation, the government is not to be blamed. This is the brainwash mentality that these P&M people have. But as I say, nature will take its course. Jail on the way. They're running from jail too, you know. Because you know, when we get in there and we start to search we will find things to prosecute them.
Of course.
We not to pay no minister, we not to pay no commissioner or give him no allocation to just go after opponents. We will find things and we will lock them up.
That's right.
And that is basically all I really had to say. So I hope I bring a little bit of knowledge to the listeners to understand. Keep the ball rolling. Only pay attention. Be observant to this government. This is a gangster squad. Pay attention. Everybody have a blessed night. Mr. Lennox, blessed night. Good program. I'll chair here, listening every word you're saying. But I now get in because I have something to do.
No problem. And I mean, better late than never, according to the old people. And the old people never lead you wrong, just as Kamala Prasad said and the UNC.
Yes. That's correct. And if I miss tonight, and I feel sick tomorrow because I have to wait till Saturday.
I hear you. Yes. Don't remind me.
That is the ambassador, not any
not me reminding them. I don't remind them, other people, because they just get sick too. You might get them sick up. So yes, the boys Friday night, and therefore I will not be here. But all play and no work make Jack a dull boy, and all
they seem to anchor their mischief
and all work and no play make Jack a dull boy. They say, and all play and no work make Jack a mere toy. So I don't want to be either. So I have to balance it. Yes, indeed, people.
As I said, Madam Speaker, we continue to have open channels of communication. In fact, last week, the United States government's head and top diplomat in Trinidad and Tobago, that is the ambassador.
Let's go again.
As I said, Madam Speaker, we continue to have open channels of communication. In fact, last week, the United States government's head and top diplomat in Trinidad and Tobago, that is the ambassador, not any underling who may or may not be speaking to the media. The United States ambassador had a conversation with me as a representative at the cabinet level of the government, and there were other conversations had, and there was no raising of the breach of any treaty. I've just put the position that all that seems and all that they seem to anchor their mischief in may not be exactly what they believe it to be.
So of course he was claiming that there was no breaching because, of course,
as I said, Madam Speaker, we continue to have open channels of communication.
Claiming, of course, they have good relations, and that nothing of the sort was discussed with
diplomat in Trinidad and Tobago, that is the ambassador, not any underling who may or may not be speaking to the media. The United States ambassador had a conversation with me as a representative at the cabinet level of the government, and there were other conversations had, and there was no raising of the breach of any treaty. I've just put the position that all that seems and all that they seem to anchor their mischief in may not be exactly what they believe it to be.
Yes, indeed.
As I said, Madam Speaker, we continue to have open channels of communication. In fact, last week, the United States government's head and top diplomat in Trinidad and Tobago, that is the ambassador, not any underling who may or may not be speaking to the media. The United States ambassador had a conversation with me as a representative at the cabinet level of the government, and there were other...
Member for Barataria Sanwan.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. I hereby seek your leave in accordance with Standing Order 32.2 to raise a matter directly concerning the privileges of the House of Representatives. During the debate on the private member's motion piloted by myself on Friday, 27 November 2020, the member for Port of Spain North, St. Anne's West, boldly represented to the House and made the following statement. The Daman vessels that may be down, it is because of COVID that the shipyards in Daman in Holland, and I'm going...
All right, okay, go ahead. I thought it was something else I was looking for, but I realize I have not found it. But go ahead. Go ahead, my friend. Yes.
You're familiar with the scripture in the Bible that says that Satan has the ability to transform himself into an angel of light?
No, I'm not, but I'm sure that you are.
Is it possible to deceive many?
Yes.
Right, well, let me tell you something. You see them fellas and them, you see them 22 of them, where we call the government and who is running this country. fellas are them perfect in lie, eh? And they will take a lie. Let me tell you, they will take a lie and polish it and make it shine and make it look like the truth, eh? So don't get tired with them.
Yeah,
and another thing is, Satan ain't going to transform himself and update everybody. Satan using these type of men. And when they use it, see as majority 22 of them, and they have the whole country. So he used a small amount to get the greater amount. And you see the people who suffer, and the people who stand up, they will talk out.
Yeah.
They will react.
Eventually, I agree with you, my friend. That's what is happening now, yeah.
They will protest or whatever it is. And you see the people who this is not affecting, what is happening in the country is not affecting, they wouldn't say nothing. They will sit down quiet. And you have to be very careful. You see, somebody constituents criticizing the government, and we're standing up and telling the government, hey, always the government for everybody, always not only the government for the PNM.
Yeah.
Always the government for the whole country, always swear by the Constitution, to uphold the Constitution. The Constitution is not for the PNM people, it's to be everybody. Indian, Creole, white, black, Spanish, everybody. It doesn't matter your race, it doesn't matter your religion, it doesn't matter nothing. That's the Constitution. And they swear to uphold that. But they're only helping one set of people. Nothing wrong. You can help the people. But you can't cover the nation. You have to be balanced. The whole of the country must feel nice. You understand?
I agree. Yes.
A portion feel nice because they're not fighting back. They're not saying anything. They can do them what they want. They're not going to say nothing. But the people who suffer talking out, fighting back, until you can know from that feedback, you know. You understand?
Yes.
How this country running. When you look at the chart, the blue or the red or whatever it is, the red gets so nice, right? And the yellow, only the yellow is there won't happen, and they're not here. I'm going to tell you, these fellas are them, it's master of lying, but I just, one point I want to make. You remember calling us, bring out a legislation for all them gas station and them? Do you know how much gas station in this country goes down? Right down here by me. Down here by me in Freestyle Lane, have one gas station, and I hear, I don't know how true it is, it's alleged that over $1 billion that they will be making in gas. You know why? I look at gas station around here, where you're closed down. And all the people have to go by that gas station in Freestyle. And I understand there's a minister one, and he bring on the policy post to cripple the gas station, and then so they can't come up to the park, come up to standards, to the policy, and then shut them down, and then he come and open a gas station and dragging all the money. And then he come and he take all the incentive and raise the gas. So all the money he going to he's pocketing by the billion, my boy.
Yes.
We have to sell it for them. We have to buy the gas. Because when they say
we are entrapped. That's where they focus. You notice where they show that the population must depend on a particular commodity or service. They tackle you there, so that you are entrapped. You cannot, if you want to survive. Yeah.
And they're going to kill a lot of people because when you can, that's 2005, when you have to buy medicine and pay property tax and you have to buy high food prices and all them things, you have the money.
That's right.
A lot of people going to go down anyhow. That's just a small thing.
Okay, my friend. Thanks very much. Yes, indeed. Of course, people are waking up. Of course, eventually, I mean, the ultimate, it has to be this. Must be, of course, that these people must be punished.
chain they tail in the homemade jail. You can't walk the streets no more. You're afraid to open your door like we fighting war. We living in jail. We living in jail.
That is what is Rowley is destined for. That is what silver bracelets and blue lights.
Burglar-proof iron doors and people. And a high concrete wall still. Your nose in a mess. You have to eat less. And it's not that the times are so hard, but you have to spend to feed about 10. Mama got God in the yard. We living in jail. Living in jail.
If I have to go to jail, come, I'm ready to go. Come, I'm ready to go. If I have to go to jail, come, I'm ready to go. I'm ready to go. I'm ready to go. To jail.
Yes, indeed. He ready to go. And to go, he shall. He must. Because we can live better. We must live better. And with such an albatross, such an evil, clearly, to rob us, to steal from us, current generation, future generations. How dare we refuse to act? But let's go to Kamala Prasad Bisesa and of course conclude tonight's exercise. Yes, indeed.
I'm a great fan of the media, as you know.
Mr. Prime Minister Urvishi again, there have been allegations of some level of financial impropriety. Now, these allegations are online. They come from someone who is said to be a relative of a cabinet minister. But in any event, it says that foreign or U.S. accounts of a senior government official is under scrutiny by the United States. Some are saying, Mr. Prime Minister, that this is you. So I have to ask if you are aware of any member of your cabinet or any member of your government subject to any sort of such procedure.
But when the media is taking its timing from social.
You see, that is where we are going to. The question has been asked whether or not Rowley and they are subject to U.S. potential prison.
To enter into Trinidad and Tobago on March 27 and depart Trinidad and Tobago on March 27, 2020. Second, by allowing Delcy Rodriguez into the country, did Trinidad and Tobago violate the American Treaty of Reciprocal Assistance, which imposed travel restrictions on members of the regime in December 2019. If this meeting is about COVID-19, why were high-ranking members of PDVSA present? The government is fully aware of the sanctions placed on PDVSA, having had to abandon the drug and gas deal and choose to go alone to develop low-humanity cross-border field. 4. In recent years, PDVSA has been widely accused of participating in money laundering and narco-trafficking. The U.S. Treasury Department made it clear that any institution or individuals who conduct business with PDVSA face the possibility of sanctions. What business is the Rowley government conducting with PDVSA, which required a face-to-face meeting with Vice President Rodriguez and these other officials of PDVSA? Is the Prime Minister aware that Venezuela's new Minister of Oil, Eric L. Asami, is wanted in the United States on drug trafficking charges? According to the Washington newspaper El Tiempo Latino, in an article titled, "How Does the Venezuelan Regime Work to Violate the Sanctions by the U.S. and Stay in Power?" This was published on December 26, 2019. PDVSA officials have allegedly entered into arrangement with oil companies by which these companies will carry out the business of PDVSA with payments being made through third parties. Is the Prime Minister aware that any such company has partnered with patriotic entities and or to purchase the petrol refinery and or with pari trading? If so, can he say what due diligence has been done so far on this agreement? Most curiously, why was the Venezuelan government accountant present at this meeting to discuss COVID-19? Dr. Williams joined the Rio Treaty because he wanted TNT to have regional support if an issue ever arose. How can TNT expect that regional support when we violated that very treaty in welcoming Madame Delcy Rodriguez to Trinidad and Tobago? The question arises whether this endangers the state's monopoly ability to operate if it deals with sanction regimes the first penalizes and loses its access to the USA sectors. Does it endanger PRP's operations, including reliance on US dollar bank accounts, to engage with sanctioned PDVSA aircraft? These are urgent questions which demand very urgent answers. The issue is no longer about the alleged shipment. It's not only about the alleged shipment of fuel from TNT, which ended up in Venezuela. It is not about whether TNT will face serious sanctions. This issue is now about the grave danger which faces our democracy and stability of Trinidad and Tobago. Keith Rowley has said anyone who dares to ask him about his meeting with Delcy Rodriguez is unpatriotic. Today I want to tell you, it is our patriotic duty, and it is that of all citizens, to demand that the Keith Rowley government tells the truth about this meeting with Madam Delcy Rodriguez and these officials of PDVSA. It is important that I correct the commentators who said the UNC has been inviting the US into the soft affairs of TNT. We in the UNC have done no such thing. What we have done is raise questions to ascertain if the government has undertaken any action which can impeach, disturb, or offend the strong mutually beneficial relationships that we share with our allies. Any possible sanctions will never be as a result of any action by the opposition, but rather of those who are in charge of our national affairs now. Any fallout with the US as result in sanctions will be as a result of the government of Trinidad and Tobago, the Rowley government. As I said, I have in my possession a list of several initiatives official to trade industry, travel, culture, and so on. And we will lead the fight frontally to ensure our country is not penalized and the people of Trinidad and Tobago are not penalized by any sort of sanctions based on the actions of the sitting government. I think that's it all. We have more here. So, to wrap up, I have been informed, I came a bit late to start this briefing, because while we were preparing the briefing, we kept getting more and more documents coming in mailbox. And I've been advised, and I'm asking if this is so, whether the computer records of this entry are these birds on March 27, 2020, whether the computer records are deleted. A concerned citizen took copies of them, and this is what have been sent to us. True, Prime Minister. Is it that Minister open our borders? I'm asking Minister to open our borders to the persons listed in this purported flag manifest. And did you do so knowing that Venezuela is under sanctions, the aircraft owned by PDVSA under sanction, and indeed that we have treaty obligations, which were treated Dr. Williams to way back when, that we may have violated those obligations. I'm open to any questions that you may have, members of the media. I will ask our staff will prepare these so we can email the documents. So, Mr. Young, is this flight manifest correct? All right, the arrival manifest and the departure manifest. Did these officials of PDVSA
of course, we have come to the end of tonight's exercise. Tomorrow morning, of course, don't forget the report and myself. And of course, we will not be back here tomorrow night at 8, but Saturday night at 8, where we will conclude, of course,
is it merely coincidental that following upon this visit on the 26th of March, 27th March, that the very next day, or soon thereafter, a shipment of gasoline out of Trinidad and Tobago was an arrangement was broken, and Trinidad and Tobago agreed to sell this gas as it did. It is coincidental then that just the next day after PDVSA people visited Trinidad and Tobago, that we just happened to get what the minister can call a spot purchase of the gasoline. Have we done this before? As far as I'm aware, petrol refined, we would have produce manufactured, refined, and we would sell to Trinidad and Tobago from Barricom and so on. Have we sold to the population of is 106,000 people. The amount of gasoline they would either have to be giving in that gasoline. I said that it could not be what due diligence is done. But as I said, it is now, it's not just about the shipment of the fuel. It is all these other serious matters relating to what this flight manifests reveal. And I ask you, is it true?
Our condolences to his family. Of course, you'll hear more about it tomorrow on the ground report. Have a wonderful rest of the night. God bless, and don't forget, on Saturday, I'll see you next. Bye-bye.
Account of each senior government official is under scrutiny by the United States. Some are saying, Mr. Prime Minister, that this is you. So I have to ask if you are aware of any member of your cabinet or any member of your government are subject to any sort of such investigation.
But when the media is taking its time from social media foolishness, I really don't want to get involved in that. Huh?
So you see how he tried to palm it off, he tried to obfuscate. He answer yet. He just say he don't want to get involved. Is it true, Dr. Rowley, that you have been delayed when you went to that conference in the United States, in Los Angeles, and unscheduled? A Prime Minister schedule is always specific because the population needs to know in a democracy. How come you suddenly had to be delayed? We will find out. We will find out, and of course it appears that it's drawing eye. The issue, the ice is drawing closer and closer, Rowley. Whether you wish to disclose or not is irrelevant, because what? Yes indeed, believe in what? That is where you will be. Have a wonderful rest of the night. God bless. Bye-bye. See you on the ground report in the morning.
You can't walk the streets no more. You're afraid to open your door like we fighting war. We living in jail. We living in jail. Freedom gone clean out of we control. Watch the houses you have to build. Burglar proof fighters and people. And a high concrete was still. You're losing a mess. You have to eat less. And it's not that the times are so hard, but you have to spend to feed about 10. Mom and that garden in the yard. Living in jail. Living in jail.
If I have to go to jail, come, If I have to go to jail, come, to jail.
Living in jail. Living in jail.
Mr. Prime Minister, urge you again, there have been allegations of some level of financial impropriety. These allegations are online. They come from someone who is said to be a relative of a cabinet minister. But in any event, it says that a senior government official is under scrutiny by the United States. Some are saying, Mr. Prime Minister, that this is you. So I have to ask if you are aware of any member of your cabinet or any member of your government subject to any sort of such investigation.
But when the media is taking its timing from social media foolishness, I really want to get involved in that.
Everybody looking for freedom, but it's like everybody blind. If you think we living in freedom, the freedom only in your mind. Everywhere I look, criminals and crook, terrorizers they run amok, while for you and me, behind lock and key, moving wrong like a witch, living in jail. Why criminals out on bail, on his head get chained their tail in the homemade jail. You can't walk the streets no more, you're afraid to open your door like we fighting war. We living in jail. We living in jail. Freedom gone clean out of the control. Watch the houses you have to build. Burglar proof fire doors and people. And a high concrete wall still. You're losing a mess. You have to eat less. And it's not that the times are so hard, but you have to spend to feed about 10. Mom and that garden in the yard. Living in jail. Living in jail.
If I have to go to jail, come, If I have to go to jail, come, to jail.
Living in jail. Living in jail. Costume jewelry is the fashion.
I'm a great fan of the media, as you know.
Mr. Prime Minister, Urvishay again, there have been allegations of some level of financial impropriety. These allegations are online. They come from someone who is said to be a relative of a cabinet minister. But in any event, it says that foreign or U.S. account of a senior government official is under scrutiny by the United States. Some are saying, Mr. Prime Minister, that this is you. So I have to ask if you are aware of any member of your cabinet or any member of your government are subject to any sort of such investigation.
But when the media is taking its timing from social media foolishness, I don't know what they're going to do. So, right social media foolishness. I really don't want to get involved in that. So, my time is too valuable. Too valuable.